Blessings, namaste, and love, everyone. I'm Spiritualist, Psychic, Astrologer, and Medium, Sette. As always, I am abundantly grateful for this opportunity to share with you my astrological as well as spiritual insights. And in this video, we are looking to the month of April 2025. This year is going by so very quickly. You know, one of my understandings as to why it appears as though time is progressing much more quickly. Metaphysically, we understand how time very much is an illusion. And part of what is contributing to the acceleration of the perception of time moving quickly is that we are becoming less aware of the physical and more aware of the metaphysical, where time and space doesn't exist. We understand metaphysically that in spirit there is that one moment of now where everything that is occurring, that has occurred, that will occur is happening simultaneously. And this is the metaphor example I use to help to grasp that concept, because it is somewhat of an abstract concept. Quite often whenever we observe things metaphysically, the understandings are quite abstract, but it doesn't mean that we can't gain and enjoy a greater understanding of these principles and these higher knowings. In third dimension, time is very linear and moves, like, for example, across the horizon. But in metaphysically and in the spirit realm, time is spiral. So here's an example of how to begin to understand this. If you take a movie film, and you spread out the film horizontally, you can see each series, each segment, each scene, each act, if you will, on a linear perspective, frame by frame. But imagine this: if you could take all those frames of that movie strip, of that movie film, and place them on top of each other and looked directly down through all those frames, you see all the occurrences of that specific film simultaneously. It's a very simple, probably rudimentary explanation of spiral time as opposed to linear time. And what I'm emphasizing is how we are becoming less aware of the physical and much more acutely aware of the metaphysical, which actually that segues me into the first point that I want to make in this video, is that on March 30th, Neptune, the planet that represents spirit, the spirit realm, as well as the psychic faculties, our intuitiveness, higher levels of spirituality. Neptune also represents spiritual love, not necessarily the love that we experience in the physical form, the love that is demonstrated in the spirit realm, which, with greater understanding, we have the opportunity to actually enjoy it while we are still in physical form. On March 30th, Neptune will begin its passage of Aries. Neptune has been in the last degrees of Pisces. On March 30th, Neptune will move into Aries. It will begin its journey of Aries. It's going to move retrograde in July. It will dip back into Pisces in October, but it will not be fully into Aries until January of 2026. I do have the intention to create a specific video regarding the passage of Neptune in Aries, just as I have two videos right now on my YouTube page of Pluto's transit into Aquarius, part 1 and part 2. Part 3, I'm not clear yet as to what that might be. Actually, I am clear. I just have to allow Spirit to guide me how I'm going to bring it all together. But I do have the intention of creating a video specifically offering my insights and understanding of Neptune's passage into Aries. And one quick point regarding that cycle of experience is that, remember, Aries begins the tropical zodiac. So whenever an element like a planet, especially one of the generational planets such as Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto and beyond, because I believe also in my first Pluto in Aquarius video, I did offer my understanding that there are 3 additional planetary elements beyond Pluto, which as of now, I understand that they're more etheric, high vibrational, third dimensional, interdimensional, and we don't have a clear understanding of them just yet. But whenever an element, especially as I said, an outer planet, because the outer planets are what we refer to as generational planets. Much of their influence pertains to generations. Yes, they do connect with us and have influence and opportunity for us on a personal level, but in this discussion, it's more generational. As Neptune moves into Aries, it will begin a major spiritual cycle of evolution where there will be a regeneration, maybe even a rebirth of true spirituality that has no connections to any earthly creation such as conventional religion. And by saying that, I don't offer that insight to discredit religion. I'm not here to discredit any belief or understanding, because I do believe there is merit in all of those knowing and all of those facets. Personally, I like to explore all areas of religion, all different types, and all different philosophies, all different schools of religion, and embrace what resonates with me, because I do believe there is merit in all of that. However, there is much misinformation as well that is in those realms, and the misinformation is what will be dissolved. Neptune can create a condition of confusion, of feeling as though we're in a fog and confusion. A negative aspect potential of a planet or a sign is only demonstrated when we're not understanding how to properly work with the energies at hand. With Neptune, because it pertains to the spirit realm, in order to really orchestrate and facilitate that process properly without negative influence, it's all about going within, stepping back from the outside world, going within, quieting the mind, clearing the connection with the spirit realm, and allowing yourself to recognize what spirit is sharing with you. When we are very much connected to the physical and not working with the spiritual, that's when the fog of confusion comes into play, where Neptune is concerned. As Neptune begins its passage of Aries, much of the false teachings that have been present will dissolve, because Neptune will also dissolve. Neptune may potentially create a fog of confusion, but it also brings us great clarity. Quite often after the fog, after the cycle of experience of the fog, the energies of Neptune bring us great clarity. Neptune also represents profound and prolific levels of creativity. During the time of the Renaissance, there was a prominent cycle of experience with Uranus and Neptune, which was very similar to what took place in the late 80s and into the early 90s regarding the connections of Uranus and Neptune. And that experience really was the beginning of inspiring everyone to really recognize how we are creative beings. And as always, creativity isn't specific to art and music. Creativity is multifaceted. We're all, at the core of our being, I understand spiritually and metaphysically that we are creative beings. Creativity is the stimulation of the mind and the imagination, and then demonstrating and bring to form all those ideas. That is powerful and prolific creativity, which every one of us is part of this creative web of spirit. As I said, I'm speaking of Neptune moving into Aries. It begins its passage of Aries on March 30th. It will move retrograde, but in the summer, go back into Pisces in October, and fully begin its cycle of its passage of Aries in January of 2026. And I will have a video specifically highlighting my understandings of that passage of experience. Now, beginning April, we have Mercury as well as Venus, both retrograde. They will be moving direct. Mercury will move direct on April 7th at exactly 7:07 a.m. And as always, I emphasize to recognize that not until we are completely, or rather not until Mercury passes the point at which it went retrograde, are we completely out of the influences of that Mercury retrograde. It goes direct on April 7th, But it's not until April 26th that we are completely out of the retrograde influences, so proceed with caution. And as always, when we're understanding how to work with the energies, we counteract any of the negative effects. Remember, the planets, the signs, they do not have power over us, just like no one in the physical has power over us. Even actually in the metaphysical or spiritual realm has power over us if we don't allow ourselves to be influenced by that power, which is sometimes oppression. So when we understand how to work with the Mercury retrograde, we counteract any of the potential negative effects. This Mercury retrograde was in the sign of Aries, and as I touched upon before, it's an auspicious opportunity to follow through with whatever is lingering, whatever it is that you might have been procrastinating about. Because Aries is a sign that will represent procrastination, depending upon, again, how certain points are influenced in the chart. Not every Aries will experience procrastination or things being left in limbo, if you will. But what I emphasize with this Mercury retrograde is following through with whatever has been lingering, whatever has been, whatever is not finished, whatever might be unfinished. Venus was also retrograde in the sign of Aries. And that experience in and of itself is also another opportunity to remember that we are creative beings, as well as remembering the element of self-love within every one of us. Now, our full moon will be also on April 12th, on the day that that Venus moves direct. I have that chart somewhere. Yes, the full moon chart. The full moon on April 12th is at 8:22 p.m. and the full moon is in the sign of Libra. Libra, as I've mentioned before, it represents creativity because it's ruled by Venus. It represents our relationships. It represents love. But also Venus is about balance. And quite often when there's a full moon in the sign of Libra, there is a balance that will be reestablished in the outside world. Libra also represents nature and the natural world. I also learned a very long time ago by my astrology mentor that if the Earth had an astrological chart, which it probably does, we're just not really understanding of what that is, it would have, or it does have, a Libra rising, because one, Libra rules nature and beauty. And look how, when we observe all that occurs in nature, how nature always creates an innate balance. It has that instinct to create and understand how to create balance. At the full moon in Libra, it would serve us greatly to really understand where balance needs to be established and created in our own personal lives as well. You know, whenever anything is out of balance, certainly there's disharmony, discord. Libra also represents harmony. Libra represents peace, peacefulness. This full moon, it's an opportunity to perhaps recognize and become aware and acknowledge where there's imbalance, where there's discord, where are you feeling not so peaceful in your lives, and create that peacefulness. Know that you have the power to really establish that peacefulness within yourself, you know, and certainly allow spirit, as always, to guide you as to what perhaps you may need to recognize so to create that balance. You know, I've always said how spirit is very loving and very free to share with us its knowing, its insights, its guidance, and it does not have the power to interfere or override our free will. Spirit can only clearly guide us if we allow ourselves to be guided. If we're not open and receptive to what spirit feels would serve a greater purpose for us, because it can't override our free will, which that free will is very much a part of universal law, it can't share with us its love and guidance, so we must allow it. So certainly at this full moon, and perhaps at any full moon, because everything is heightened, you know, allow spirit to show you what will serve a greater purpose for you. And remember, we have to have that willingness and receptivity to recognize those insights. And sometimes it does require courage to see what we need to change within ourselves, because a full moon always heightens also what's going on lingering behind the shadows. I always use the analogy that if we're out at night, especially at midnight on the full moon, it will illuminate. The full moon always illuminates in the dark what's going on in the dark, what's lingering in the shadows. We just have to have that free will, willingness to recognize whatever that might be. Now, the sun will transit into the sign of Taurus on April 19th, and the exact time of that transit is 3:56 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Whenever I address time frames in my videos, it's always Eastern Time. So on April 19th at 3:56 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the sun transits into the sign of Taurus. Taurus represents, among many things, our creature comforts, our values. It also represents money and finances. You know, so many have a desire to really enjoy financial blessings and financial freedom. You know, when the sun transits Taurus, it is an auspicious opportunity, to recognize your own relationship with money and money-related matters. Whatever conditions that we experience regarding finances, money is only a representation of our relationship with finances. You know, every one of us has by birth the inalienable right to enjoy many freedoms, including financial freedom. So perhaps during this time of year, let yourself recognize the relationship you have with finances and financial matters. Are you deserving of, or rather, are you feeling that you are deserving of what you would choose to enjoy regarding finances? You know, and change that understanding of your relationship with money. Remember, money has a vibration, as to why it's referred to as currency. It has a vibration. I find it also very interesting how in the United States our currency is green, which is the color of the heart chakra. You know, that heart chakra element also does allow us to receive not only financial blessings but many blessings as well. I share with you some of these points to inspire you to just explore these understandings and recognize that you have the power to correct and change anything in your life that perhaps isn't what you would desire to experience. We just need to recognize what we're bringing to form that sometimes miscreates these experiences and brings us sometimes the less than loving situations that we may not necessarily desire to enjoy. So right now I'm speaking of money and financial matters, especially as the sun transits the sign of Taurus. Now our new moon in April is on April 27th, and the exact time of that is 3:31 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Now, as always, I address the last cycle of the lunar cycle, or rather the last phase of the lunar cycle, which is the balsamic moon. And the balsamic moon phase begins on April 24th at 10:24 a.m. That is the opportunity to energetically prepare for the coming lunar cycle. It's the time of the dark moon. It's a time of clearing, cleansing, and purging, and releasing what is not in a vibrational alignment with what you choose to desire to cast in motion at the time of the new moon. Now, the new moon, as I mentioned, is on April 27th, 3:31 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and it's in the sign of Taurus. So think about what I was just referring to regarding Taurus. It's almost at 8 degrees of Taurus, so it's in the early stages of Taurus. The new moon, also in the chart that we cast for the United States, is energizing or is placed in the 8th house sector of the astrological composition for the new moon. That part of the chart represents what we refer to as other people's money. That's the part of the chart where we observe the reception and the receiving of money. For example, reaping the rewards of whatever it is that we have invested upon. We look to the 8th house. So many times, you know, we're always being the transmitter. We're putting the energy, we're directing the energy outward. But in order for us to welcome blessings, especially financial blessings, we have to change the dial and be a receptor, receive the blessings of all the intentions that we have cast in motion. So certainly this new moon is just kind of reinforcing that element of being receptive to financial wellness in all our lives. As I said, every one of us, no one left out, by birthright has the opportunity to really enjoy financial freedom and financial blessings. We only don't have those experiences when we're not in alignment with that understanding, and sometimes we inadvertently push many blessings away from us. So it is a time to rethink all of those situations, not only with the sun going into Taurus, but because the new moon is in it's in the first 10 degrees of Taurus. You know, each sign is divided into 3 segments, referred to as, I may be wrong with the term, but by decans. And between 0 and 9 degrees of the sign, that's when the initial innate characteristics of the sign are the strongest. Then the next segment from 10 to 19 degrees, and then the last segment from 20 to 29 degrees also represent different frequency vibrational levels of that sign. And what I'm highlighting right now is the new moon being almost 8 degrees of Taurus. It's in the early part of Taurus, and really understanding and reflecting upon your financial wellness or the lack thereof. Change your relationship with money. Allow yourself to welcome and to receive the many financial blessings that every one of us has been designed to enjoy while we are in this human form. I mentioned about the heart chakra. So in closing, perhaps I would say explore some meditations regarding energizing and opening up that heart chakra. You know, think about also the heart chakra is the center chakra. It creates balance, and as I was referring to earlier regarding the full moon in the sign of Libra and the element and the opportunity to create balance, the heart chakra, because it's in the center, creates a balance between the lower and the upper chakras. You know, and certainly while we are enjoying this human experience, it is suggested to create a balance between the physical and the metaphysical. So that is yet another opportunity and component for us to enjoy the many blessings that every one of us has been designed to experience while we are in this human form. No one left out. Sometimes I feel I may be sharing too much in these videos, but I will create videos specific regarding specific topics. For example, I do have on my YouTube page 2 videos right now addressing and sharing my insights on the Pluto into Aquarius passage. And I will be, within the next couple of weeks, depending on my schedule, creating a video specifically dedicated to sharing with you my insights and understanding of Neptune as it transits the sign of Aries. As always, once again, I'm Spiritualist, Psychic Astrologer, and Medium Sette. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to share with you my spiritual and astrological insights. Many blessings and much love, everyone. Namaste.